Hello, and welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for September of 2023. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
And I'm Julia Mijas, and I'm in San Francisco, California.
Let's take a look at what's happening this month. Well, happy birthday, Libra. If you haven't scheduled your yearly birthday reading yet, there's still time to do it before your birthday, which is the most powerful time to do it. This lets you ritualize your personal New Year's moment and jump into your year empowered to make it the best one ever. It also comes with fantastic affirmations you can use all year to create your best life. You'll find a link for it in the description below. Well, Juno is going to spend the whole month in Leo, and here she is in your 11th house. Juno is a very social creature, quite the networker and connector of people. She is something of a matchmaker and a leader of people too, in ways that are warm, though not at all hierarchical. She does care about equity, and I think she loves to be in this 11th house territory where she can help you to expand your social networks, connect with communities that you want to be a part of, that you feel a sense of belonging in, and otherwise just have, a fun and expansive social life while Juno is passing through this house. So that's some pretty good stuff, and she's going to be in this house all month. So could be a really good time for hosting too. Ceres is traveling along through Libra, which is your first house, of course. It's your own sign. And Ceres is a very grounding planet. Ceres is the largest asteroid in the asteroid belt. She's concerned with very practical, everyday matters around how we connect with the physical world, such as the food we eat and fully occupying our bodies and the money that we make too. So Ceres in your first house brings her themes into the realm of action. The first house is the house of the things that we do and how we take action, how we move forward, and how we behave. So while Ceres is in this house, you might find yourself really noticing ways that your relationship with your body isn't the way you want it to be, and putting some actions forward about how you can steward and caretake your body better going forward, so that it can be, you can live in your body in a more balanced way, whether that means a better balanced diet or better sleeping and waking rhythms, or, like wonderful smells in the bathtub when you're bathing or in the shower. Ceres in Libra likes all that stuff pretty well. Ceres is going to change signs mid-month, going to move on into the sign of Scorpio. Now, Ceres is pretty not comfortable in Scorpio because this is the sign opposite to her own nature. She rules Taurus, and she and Taurus have a lot of aligned themes, but Scorpio is the opposite of that. And so there could be some breakdowns here. And I think it's a really good idea to watch out for addictions and digestion mishaps while Ceres is passing through Scorpio. But I do want to point out that she is in your second house, and she likes that quite a bit because Ceres and Taurus rule the second house. And so she's comfortable by house, if not by sign. So the second house is your own domain of food, body, and money. And when Ceres arrives here, she just wants you to be as grounded as possible. Now, because she's in Scorpio, and Ceres has to do with your own money and your own possessions, but Scorpio has to do with your partner's money and possessions and how you merge with them, this could be a time of you getting more grounded and solid through how you relate to your partner, whether that's a business partner that you share a business with, or whether that's a spouse or a co-parent that you share resources with. Any way you look at it, this could be a great month for you getting into better relationship with that person that you share resources with, and getting more clarity about where the lines are, what stuff is yours, what stuff is theirs, and how can each of you feel really solid as individuals and also as a team. And those would be really great conversations to have with your partner while Ceres is traveling along through your second house. And then the last thing I want to mention right now is that Jupiter, everybody's friend, is going retrograde this month. Starts out the month direct in your 8th house. Here's Jupiter. He's traveling through Taurus this year, and he's in your 8th house. And Jupiter is a luck bringer. And how that happens is because wherever he goes, Jupiter brings to you so much confidence and expansion, inspiration, and enthusiasm. It just becomes a feel-good place while Jupiter is there, that you'll find that your enthusiasm is infectious and you can easily attract opportunities and even get lucky wherever Jupiter is. So that's kind of funny because this is a house of sexuality, death and rebirth, addiction, power and control, transformation, and also therapy. So I would say you could have a pretty grand sex life if you want during Jupiter passing through your 8th house. It could really be expanding for that. Or if you are up for some really deep healing on yourself, you might find that therapy feels expanding and feels kind of like an adventure. Or you might luck into some rehab situation that can give you more confidence and more control over your own compulsions. So, it's kind of funny because Jupiter is all about the light, fluffy stuff, the fun and the gaiety and the frivolity. And the 8th house is such a deep and heavy realm that you might ask yourself, how can I have fun in a place like this? But it can be really wonderful when Jupiter brings the candle of consciousness into what is otherwise a pretty mysterious terrain. Can give you the courage to heal some pretty great stuff. So, Julia, what's up with Venus, Mercury, and Mars for the Librans this month?
Well, I have some fabulous news for the Librans because their ruling planet Venus is finally going to go direct, and it's going to be early in the month too. So Venus has been retrograde for a number of weeks now, and this is a particularly frustrating cycle for Librans. People who are who care so deeply about their relationships. Venus retrograde cycles can bring a lot of relationship review into your life. And make you kind of go back over things and, weigh out the pros and cons of how things are going and what you need to move forward. So it's really nice that this cycle is coming to an end. It's also a good time for single Librans to start dating again and feeling like they can move forward as well in their love life. So Venus goes direct early in the month on the 3rd of September, and Venus already is in your 11th house. It will stay there all month, starting retrograde and then going direct very early. And as Venus begins to go direct in the 11th house, this is a house of your friends. This is a house of your social circles, any groups you're a part of. That can be a union, that could be a gamer circle, that could be a professional association, and it also rules your hopes, wishes, and dreams. So while you've been reviewing your partner, your relationship, wondering whether they've been your friend or not, whether you need to be better friends with them, whether they even fit in with your friends, now that Venus is going direct in this house, it's a fabulous time for just enjoying your friendships. This is a wonderful time for being benefited by your friends and also finding pleasure, just hanging out with your gals or your bros or your buddies. And also feeling like you're getting a little luck in moving forward towards one of your long-term goals, that you're just moving a couple of inches forward on something that you've been wanting for a very, very long time. This is the house of hopes, wishes, and dreams after all. And for the single Librans, really good time for online dating or asking your friends to set you up because the 11th house rules networks of all kinds. Now, Mercury also going direct on September 15th. So I'm really relieved about all these direct planets this month, especially the personal planets, which really hit us in personal places. Mercury is the planet that rules your mind. It's the planet of communication, and it's been doing a whole squirrely retrograde cycle in your 12th house. This is a house of the ethereal, the hidden. It's also the house known as the house of self-sabotage too. So with Mercury having been retrograde in this house for a few weeks, you could be reviewing how you've been your own worst enemy in some way. This is actually also known as the house of secret enemies. So if there's somebody who's just been kind of a friend, but they're really a frenemy, you might be reviewing your relationship with them and being like, okay, is this person working against me? Or is this somebody I really want to include in my life? And how have you been self-sabotaging? Are there things that you can move forward in your life so you don't keep repeating these gnarly patterns? Now, on September 6th, Mercury conjoins the Sun while retrograde. We call that Lesser Epiphany Day. And this is a very important time to keep track of because you're going to have some really good insights into these tricky matters, into how you have been sabotaging yourself, or whether somebody close to you is really kind of been working against you in some way. Then by September 15th, Mercury goes direct in this house. It's going to make things a lot easier when Mercury is direct. And for the rest of the month, you could be feeling a little bit private about sharing your ideas with your friends. Venus is in your 11th house, so you are connecting a lot with friends, but maybe you're keeping your ideas a little bit more to yourself. And maybe when you're all by yourself, in your room, whether you like fantasy writing or meditating or doing anything that's consciousness expanding, especially for your mind, that could be kind of a fruitful area to develop, even dream stuff, with Mercury direct in your 12th house for the rest of the month. Now, finally, we have our friend Mars, planet of action and activity. He's in your first house of self all month. Now, Mars really does like to be in this house. He naturally ruled by Aries, Mars's sign, because this is a very upfront and direct house, and that's exactly what Mars is all about. So with Mars in the first, you might be feeling personally a lot more energetic and a lot more assertive. And that's not necessarily a bad thing for you, Libra, because you always put other people ahead of yourself. So, putting Mars in the first house here, you might be putting your own needs forward or standing up for your boundaries more, which is definitely good. But with Mars in the first house, it's very easy to overdo it too. And especially if you've been a bit resentful about having other people putting other people ahead of you, you might have a tendency to overdo things. So definitely slow your rolls a little bit and try to get out that energy just from some good old physical activity, because Mars in the first house is really giving you a big energetic boost this month, especially since Venus is now direct. Things are kind of moving ahead here. So, go do a workout routine or something, or start planning on going on long walks every day, because that's a really, really positive way of getting this Mars energy out.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Jamie here. Horoscopes and moon videos are fascinating, but they're also not personalized for you. That's why we run live workshops monthly where you can get answers about your own chart. This month's topic is optimizing Mercury retrograde for writers, managers, and learners. Mercury retrogrades are notorious for making a mess of your office, your paperwork, your projects, and your brain. But it doesn't have to be that way. In this workshop, I'll explain how to handle this difficult transit just in time for back to school. This workshop is expressly for our Demigod Patreon subscribers who pay only $15 a month for access to live events like this one. It's easy to sign up at the Patreon link in the description below. I'd love to see you there. Now let's get back to the video. Well, I've got a couple of moons to report, beginning with the new moon in Virgo, which lands in your 12th house, opposed as it is by Neptune, and forming a lovely trine as it does to Uranus. Now, we're calling this one Seeds of Selfless Service, and that's because it pits and balances the physical service orientation of Virgo against the spiritual service orientation of Neptune. And, Libra, when you have Libra rising, there's often a side effect that goes with that, which is that all of the planets, all of the signs are in the houses opposite to their own nature, which can make life a little bit complicated. So I think that you may already have the idea that spiritual service should be physicalized and that physical service should have a spiritual component. And so you might not be surprised by this moon, really. Now, wherever we find the new moon, we want to plant seeds. So you want to plant the seeds of selfless service, and you do want them to be physical and practical because they are in Virgo. But because they are in the 12th house, you might find yourself wanting to withdraw under this moon and just take care of yourself. And on the other hand, well, that's a favorite Libran phrase, right? On the other hand, it might be really nice to go out and do some spiritual service as well. So, volunteer at that soup kitchen downtown, or, do some highway cleanup or something that feels to you like it brings you into connection with all living things. And that can really bring you out of your isolation during this moon. Now, the other moon I want to tell you about is coming much later in the month. It's the full moon in Aries, happening on the 29th. And so that one lands in your 7th house right here. And this one we call the sacred fire of self-care. And it pits a very selfish and driven and perhaps impulsive and even angy, as my daughter likes to say, angy. she's a, I don't know, what are they calling this? Gen Z? Yeah, so they've got a whole language all their own. Anyway, that's this moon right here, and it's facing off against the Sun and Pallas Athena in Libra, and you might find yourself really more identified with the Sun and Pallas Athena because these planets are so reasonable. These planets are so logical and rational, and I mean, they're in Libra after all. And so there might be somebody in your life, and it might even be a partner, or it might be a bestie, who is just cranky and argumentative. And yet there is a fulcrum to this opposition, which is Vesta right here. Vesta is all about that sacred flame. She is the temple priestess. She's really good at creating sacred space. And this Vesta in Cancer is all about sacred space for self-care. And while that might involve asserting yourself sometimes, other times it might involve just being your, bringing forth your full complement of niceness and all of your social skills. This Vesta is going to be all about balancing these factors under this full moon. And it wouldn't be surprising if some of these dynamics showed up in your one-on-one relationships. Now, the last thing that I want to point to is how there is this general migration over the course of the month where there are some things here in your 11th house bringing up the, your social life as a pretty important factor. And then as the month goes on, let's say mid-month, we have got lots of more activity here in your 12th house. And so you might even find yourself pulling into some isolation, some solitude, just wanting to be on your own. And that's not at all surprising because Libra, your birthday is coming. If you're a sun sign Libra, your birthday is coming, and usually it's great to spend the last month before your birthday turning inward and thinking about how you're going to move on from the projects of the previous year and feeling ahead into the projects that are incoming for the new year. So for the sun sign Librans out there, this is a good time for solitude and contemplation. But then we have the seasonal change when your season begins. And that's on the 23rd. And the sun moves on over out of your 12th house. And notice how many things come along with it. That 12th house is really looking emptied out. And you're just going to burst out on the social scene like a sunrise. And And so this month, when the sun is passing along through your first house, if you're a Libra riser, or the month around your birthday, if you are a Libra sun, is just such a great time for you to shine and be seen, to be creative and expressive, to let yourself be noticed, to really like suck up more of the air in the room than you ordinarily would. And this is a really great month for letting people pay attention to you. And if they want to throw you that party, letting them do it. And just letting that be, something that contributes to a healthy pride and self-confidence that is well deserved for you, Libra.
Well, that's all we have for you today. If you love Pandora Astrology's free and informative horoscopes, then please do hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share these videos with your friends.
You can find out so much more about how this month's transits affect you in very personal timing in our monthly Patreon workshops. Find the link in the description below to get started. Enjoy the equinox, and until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos.
Bye-bye.